We're back here on Inside Black and Gold. I'm Jeff Nowak alongside Steve Geller, getting y'all ready for the Week 17 showdown with the Philadelphia Eagles, the team that it seems the Saints play every year, but we still got to get into it. So we have Dave Spadaro, host of the Eagles Insider podcast, to give us a breakdown on what the Saints can expect this time around. How you doing today, Dave?
I'm doing great, guys. Yeah, it's been 3 straight years that the Saints have played in Lincoln Financial Field. So I know everybody who's making the return trip knows their way around the city, knows where to get the best cheesesteak, knows where to have the best conversation about sports, and knows their way to the stadium. And the first 2 games in 20 and 21 have not gone well for New Orleans. So we'll see if 3 times a charm for the Eagles. Certainly, well, a lot of stake for the Eagles in this one.
They've played so many times in a row that we've gone from the Saints being the really good team in this matchup to the Eagles being the really good team in this matchup. Like it's cycled from top to bottom. It's kind of wild when you think about it.
Yeah, it really is. And that's true because 2020, the Eagles were winding down the Doug Peterson era. They were just transitioning to the Jalen Hurts at quarterback era. And we really got a glimpse then of just how potent the offense could be. Obviously, 13-2 has been a remarkable season for the Eagles, and Jalen Hurts is an MVP candidate as well. He should be, with an incredible season that he's had.
That's the big question, obviously, that Saints fans I know all have is are we going to see Jalen Hurts on Sunday? It seems he was back to being limited at practice on Thursday. It looks like he's trending in the right direction. And from what I've heard, too, the whole plan is right now with that 1 seed on the line, they're looking to win it and wrap it up right now.
Yeah, I mean, if Jalen responds well after practice overnight and comes back and goes full on Friday, then it would be a good assumption that he'll play. So I still think at this point it's very 50-50. They do have a lot of confidence in Gardner Minshew. He threw for 355, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions on Saturday in Dallas. But the fact that Jalen was out there on Thursday was pretty remarkable. I don't think anybody really expected it. There is absolutely urgency to win this football game. It will clinch the number 1 seed. A victory gives the Eagles an opportunity to rest their players in Week 18 and get a bye week after that. So that's something that this team really covets. There are some older players on this team that could really use it. We haven't had a bye week here. Let's see, the bye week was Week 7. So it's been a lot of football, a lot of weeks in a row of football for the Eagles.
Yeah, and I mean, we're recording this Thursday afternoon. By the time this posts, depending on what the Cowboys do, the Eagles could have possibly locked up the NFC East if the Cowboys lose to the Titans on Thursday Night Football. But I mean, that's got to I don't know. I guess I wonder, is there any nervousness around like, oh, wow, this team is 13-2, but like if they don't find a way to win this game, they're going to go into Week 18, not only not having locked up the number 1 seed, like if they lose to the Giants, all of a sudden they might not even host a playoff game. Like, does that creep in at all? Or is it kind of like this team has been so good that it just doesn't even compute that way?
Yeah, I mean, Jeff, this team is so good, it doesn't compute that way. This is a really confident team. They haven't been winning by flukes. They haven't been winning by late field goals. They're not winning by 1 possessions. They're romping teams, and they are a competitive team. They've got great chemistry. There's an enormous amount of talent, and they know they're a very good football team. And when you know you're a very good football team, I mean, they were pissed coming out of Dallas. They lost a game where they had 2 10-point leads. They turned the football over 4 times. The Cowboys converted a 3rd and 30 play, which never happens in the NFL. Yeah. And the Eagles were really kind of just they were kicking themselves after leaving AT&T Stadium. They shook that off. So they're all business, and they don't take the Saints lightly. They've been really remarkable. During the course of a season, you see teams generally go up and down, and they play some really bad games. There have been very few times when the Eagles have played poorly this year. And the only thing that's really hurt the Eagles, certainly offensively, has been the turnovers. They had 4 against Dallas. They had 4 against Washington. They lost both of those games. They had 3 against Chicago. The offense stuttered and sputtered and, eventually won out. They had 2 against the Colts and it needed a 4th quarter comeback. But otherwise, the offense has been like a highlight film up and down the field. How do you want to get beat today? I mean, do you want to try to play coverage? Okay, the Eagles will run for 350 on you or whatever. They'll run for these crazy numbers on you. You want to play stack the box? They'll throw for 300 yards on you. They're just a really versatile team that is, I just don't think, going to take the Saints lightly. And look, the Saints could come in here and play a great game and win. And the Eagles know that they go to the following week and they win a game and they've accomplished their regular season goals. So to answer your question, no nervousness, excitement, and I think very much looking forward to getting rid of that loss, that taste of that loss in Dallas out of their mouths.
Yeah, when you talk about the giveaways the last couple of games, what's happened? Like there was such a huge turnaround from the beginning of the year when the Eagles were stingy at giving the ball away, one of the best. And the last, I think, 3 or 4 weeks now, they've been at the bottom.
Yeah. Well, you're going to go through cycles. It happens to every team. I think that maybe Eagles fans got lulled into this thing where they thought it was going to be a blowout. And it was almost like a weird complacency among the fans. Like, gosh, this is boring. The Eagles are up 14-0. It's 21-7. Oh, it's 24-7. That's just not the way the NFL works. And a lack of concentration. There's good teams. Teams figure out how to play you. They've been a bit sloppy with the football. Nick Sirianni said that they're going to coach it differently this week and really emphasize ball security again, which they did after the Washington game. And then they went on another run. So we'll see. But certainly they've been a runaway leader in the turnover ratio throughout the season. Now all of a sudden they're looking up at the Dallas Cowboys. And as we know, the NFL is all about stats. You can pull them out of every corner of the universe. But one that really means something is the turnover ratio. And when you are on the positive side of that, you win football games. And as the Eagles have found out, when they're on the negative side, it's been a whole lot harder to win.
Then you talk about the turnovers, and obviously a guy who had a lot of them, and hey, maybe that's part of the story, is a guy who has 6 interceptions is not available for the last month plus. CJ Gardner-Johnson, it doesn't look like we're going to see him this week. They didn't open his return to practice window. And I'm sure that wasn't a decision that went over well with CJ, based on what I know about him.
He's a pretty competitive guy.
Yeah, what has he kind of been like? How is he kind of acclimated? Because he's a guy who has a lot of if fans were a lot more upset about the CJ Gardner-Johnson trade than trading away next year's first-round pick, because that was a giveaway. And so how has he acclimated, obviously, beyond just the interceptions?
Yeah, it's interesting, though. It doesn't seem like it's really hurt the Saints from a secondary standpoint. The New Orleans numbers are still really good defensively and certainly against the pass. He made the transition from nickel cornerback in New Orleans to starting safety in Philadelphia. Came in, learned the defense really quickly, much more athletic than what the Eagles had previously. They were terrific with him in the lineup, and the takeaways really have fallen off since he's been out of the lineup. Suffered that lacerated kidney.
Same in New Orleans.
Yeah. CJ, as you guys know, he's a really animated guy. He's a very colorful young man, really has fun with the game, is a very good football player. I think the plan is to ramp him up, get him ready for the playoffs.
Right.
And that will be a big boost to the Eagles. They could really use CJ Gardner-Johnson, whether he comes back here as a nickel cornerback or as a safety. His ability to get to the football is terrific. He's fit in really well with his locker room. I think he likes the culture up here a lot. Look, when you join a team and all of a sudden you start the season, 8-0, everybody jumps on board and loves that. So we're looking forward to getting him back. Really like him as a young guy, and I think his enthusiasm is contagious. He's got a lot of style. He plays the game the right way, and I really know I know he enjoyed New Orleans a whole lot and was stung by the trade. But it's business in the NFL, and the Saints feel like they can build for the future and that they had replacements for him. And by the numbers, your defense down there has been really good.
Yeah, everywhere but interceptions, where CJ has 2 more than the entire Saints team, and he hasn't played in a month. So,
and look, that could be pass rush too. There's a lot of factors. Marshawn Lattimore has been hurt. So, but certainly
weird. He has Lattimore kind of the same injury as CJ Gardner-Johnson.
Oh, I didn't really know what he had, an abdominal injury or some sort of a hip injury or something.
Yeah, abdominal lacerated kidney.
Oh, he had a lacerated kidney too? Oh, gosh, man. Ouch. It looked so painful when CJ went down against the Packers.
Yeah.
You could just tell, a lacerated kidney. Yuck. I know the game's physical, but you have to be that gross. That sounds awful.
Yeah, and one of the things that that DA told us, and that makes sense, is like, or I think it was actually Chris Richard who said this, is it's not even like back to being healthy to the point where you can get on the field. It's like back to being healthy to the point that you can take a hit in an NFL game when you have like internal organs that are damaged. And it's like, that's tough to gauge, right?
Yeah. So, he's healthy now. He looks great, but it's now a matter of getting back into football shape, and he should do that for the postseason.
Sticking with the defense, obviously the big focus is the points that Philly can put up, but man, the defense gets after the quarterback, obviously, with those sack numbers, and just adding to the defensive line too was so key, I know, for the team for this final stretch and heading into the playoff run. Just who's really been the standout on that squad? I know Reddick's been the team sack leader, but like as your vocal still leader of that squad, the one really manning the ship for them, I guess.
I'm not sure there's one guy because, I think first of all, from the pass rush standpoint, I think what's key is that it comes from so many directions. They've got Reddick with 12.5. Hargrave's got 10. Sweat, I think, has 10. Graham has 9. Cox has 6. And when you have multiple threats, it's really hard to account for all of those pass rushers. Then they get run on in Houston. Washington runs on them and beats them. So they go out and sign Linval Joseph and Ndamukong Suh. So 2 veteran, 2 leader guys. So there's a bunch of leaders in this defensive line group in front 7. And I really think the one who's playing the best, I think, is probably Josh Sweat. He's been great in his 5th season. He had an interception and pick 6 last week. And he's rangy, bends really well. He gets to the quarterback. He's played the run. He sets a good edge. At one time in his life, a 5-star, best in the nation by one recruiting service, high school football player, suffered a gruesome leg injury. You could see him kind of dragging that leg around early in his career, but he's really come on. And they're gonna put pressure on Andy Dalton on Sunday, no doubt about it. They know the challenge is Alvin Kamara. They know the challenge is Taysom Hill. They know that you've got speed down the field, but they feel like if they can get to the quarterback as they try every week, and they lead the league in sacks, that really sets the tone for the defense, and that those takeaways will start to come again because, as we all know, they come in bunches.
Yeah, so this roster, one of the things that kind of stands out to me, and I think it's impressive for a team that's this good, is how many of the players on this roster and key players weren't drafted by the Eagles. They were either acquired by trade, they were signed. Obviously we talked about CJ, a guy like AJ Brown, who, that's a big trade. And a lot of times you don't know how somebody's going to transition from one offense to another. He didn't miss a beat, right? You talk about Ndamukong Suh, Linval Joseph, Josh Sweat, Hassan Reddick. These are all guys who were on different rosters just a few seasons ago. And for them to all kind of coalesce into not just a good team, a great team this quickly is very impressive. And why do you think that is with this group?
I give Howie Roseman, the general manager, a lot of credit. He killed it in the offseason. The Eagles made the playoffs last year. They identified their weaknesses. They manipulated their salary cap really well. They went out and in free agency got Reddick. In free agency got Zach Pascal, their 4th wide receiver. They get Kaiser White for a 1-year deal. He starts at the outside linebacker, off-ball linebacker. He's had a really good year. They draft Jordan Davis in the 1st round. He's made an impact. They get James Bradbury, cornerback, after the draft, and on it goes. I don't know. They identified players who could fit in the system. It's one thing to go, okay, these are talented players, but sometimes those players don't fit in the system. So they identified players who really like to play football, who they felt could fit into this culture. For Reddick, for example, it was a return back home. He grew up in Camden, New Jersey. He played football at Temple University. Coming back home has been great for him. And then they're just really high character guys who just fit the X's and the O's and the demands of what the offensive and defensive schemes ask. And it's just all come together. Look, we won a Super Bowl here in 2017. You kind of get the pattern is there's definitely luck involved, but it's a lot of chemistry. It's a lot of selflessness. It's a lot of everybody kind of making sure that they know their role and they star in their role. And that's what this team has become. And then you just get the really high-end talent. I mean, when you put AJ Brown with Devontae Smith, you go, wow, this is like it's what the Saints envisioned when they traded with the Eagles, got the first pick, got Chris Olave, and hoped that he would pair with Michael Thomas. You have 2 number 1 receivers. They're unstoppable. I mean, there is nobody has been able to stop both AJ and Devontae in a game. They've been able to take one out, maybe, but not both of them. Not tight end Dallas Goedert. It's just a collection of great talent, really selfless guys, and everybody's just kind of rolling in the right direction. And here we are. This team's 13-2 with a chance to be the number 1 seed in the NFC. No guarantees, of course, in the playoffs, but it's a very good football team, top to bottom. And if they can go into the postseason healthy, they're going to be tough to beat.
So obviously Sirianni won over fans immediately, basically there, getting the team year 1 to playoffs, and now even looking, even a more fearsome unit now. Was the feeling initially as warm and, as optimistic maybe? Yeah, I figured.
Please. Philadelphia? So he has his first press conference, okay? This is during COVID. He's in the auditorium by himself. He's guy's first-time head coach. He wants to thank everybody in the world, right?
Right.
If we were hired as head coach, we would want to thank everybody in the world. So he's in an auditorium. He's looking up at this big screen with a bunch of ugly media guys like us. And he's reading off a script like, hey, thanks to everybody who's made a difference. And the media ripped him for his opening press conference. Ripped him. And they were like, the level of skepticism was so ridiculous. And then the Eagles started 2-5 last year. And Nick did not waver. He doubled down on what he believes in. He talked about how, the seeds under the ground, their roots are growing and they're forming and they're building foundation. And everybody was like, what the hell are you talking about? and then the Eagles, turned the season around, reached the postseason, and then proceeded to just destroy in the offseason. So, and now this is a football team that is to be reckoned with, not only now, but they've got the Saints' first-round draft pick. They've got extra picks in the till. They're going to have a lot of cap room. They've got a lot of young players signed. There'll be some tough decisions to make, but the foundation is here to be a really good football team. And I think Nick has all the makings of a truly great head coach.
The other guy, Dennis Peterson's not doing too bad now in Jacksonville.
Yeah, here's what's interesting
for him.
The owner, Jeffrey Lurie, bought the team in '94, first season '95, fired Rich Kotite. Rich Kotite's contract expired. Yeah. Since then, okay, every coach that he's hired, everyone, Ray Rhodes, Andy Reid, Chip Kelly, Doug Peterson, Nick Sirianni, everyone has made the playoffs. It's pretty good.
Absolutely, yeah.
Well, the Saints visited them. If you're, have appreciated some of those playoff visits in one way or another as well. One last question about a former Saints player that I still think it was a troll job by the Eagles. Ian Book, man. How's he doing these days? Do you have a good time?
Yeah, I mean, Ian's been as quiet as a church mouse, hopefully getting better. I can't comment really on what he's done because he's not played. He wasn't here in the preseason. A lot of curiosity when Jalen went down. I mean, there's a possibility, of course, that Jalen doesn't play on Sunday and Ian Book for the second week in a row is the backup quarterback, is one play away from playing. So, guys, you tell me, if Ian Book is on the field on Sunday, what can Eagles fans expect from him?
It's a good question. I don't know. He only played in one game for the Saints, and it was the COVID game against Miami when everyone was out. But it struck me as a troll job when they signed him, because it's like, why are you using a waiver claim on a guy who's going to be third string quarterback? But he's a good guy.
Well, yeah, but the thing is, like, Gardner Minshew will be a free agent after the year, and the idea is that so you're always trying to develop that next step. And I really feel like the Eagles have an excellent balance of addressing the now and also keeping one eye into the future. And look, that's why this team has been as good as it's been for many, many years here. 17 playoff appearances, I think, in the 2000s, third in the NFL during that time. That's pretty darn good.
Well, Ian Book was definitely a Peyton pick. He liked his whole makeup, his moxie as a winner at Notre Dame kind of thing. But yeah, we never really. It wasn't fair, the situation, obviously, a Monday night that he was thrown into, but there were just a lot of times in training camp where you were questioning some of his decision-making kind of thing. But nothing you wouldn't expect from a young quarterback, but I felt there was just more negatives than any real positives you saw during that time.
Well, so if he plays, we'll expect a lot of makeup and a lot of moxie.
Yes, there you go, right.
And probably a lot of handoffs.
My career ceiling for Ian Book is Chase Daniel. Like,
hey, that's what boy, if he can have a career like Chase Daniel,
I'll take
dude,
it.
this guy's been in the league for what, 45 years. He's probably made like
feels like it.
$300 million or something. Jeez, I'd love to have a career
He's
like
probably
that.
made about as many $1 million as he has pass attempts. Like,
that's great. Hey, I'll take that career any day of the week.
Amen.
All right. I'll let one more thing, and then we'll cut you loose.
Sure.
Okay. What's your prediction for this game? Do you think the Eagles win in a romp? Do you think this is kind of a replay of the Giants game a few weeks back? Because that's kind of what I anticipate. I think
the Saints are that kind of team that is always in the game. They're really tough. They're very physical. I can't ignore a defense that hasn't given up more than 20 points since I think November 9th. So I think it'll be a really tough game. I certainly think the Eagles will win the football game. And then people in Philly can exhale and look forward to a really fun playoff run. But I mean, because after the loss to Dallas, everybody in Philly is on pins and needles and wondering about this team. They're going, how could the power rankings have changed so much? The Eagles went to Dallas and lost by 6 points with the backup quarterback. How come they're not the number one team in the power? Not that the Eagles give a crap about that, but the fans certainly do. So I do expect the Eagles to win the game. I just think there's a lot of firepower here. There's a lot of urgency, a lot of conviction. They know how important it is to win on Sunday. It's the first game home after 3 straight road games. I think the fans will be fired up, and I think the Eagles will be extremely, extremely emotional and geared up to play this game.
See, that's one right there. You know, a lot of Saints fans are always critical of the NFL or whatever, however the schedule shakes out. But late in the season, back-to-back road games, that's pretty brutal.
Yeah, it was tough, and but the Eagles won 2 out of 3, built up a nice 3-game lead in the NFC East and in the NFC. So they're in a really good position, and they would like to end the suspense on Sunday. And so that's the way the Eagles want to ring in 2023.
Yeah, New Year's Day, going to be a good one. Saints, Eagles for the 3rd season in a row in Philadelphia. We've been talking to Dave Spadaro, host of the Eagles Insider Podcast. Check it out. Thanks so much, Dave. It's been very informative. And, well, I normally would say stay warm, but I don't want to say that these days.
Yeah, it's beautiful, guys. And thank you so much for having me. And have a happy and healthy and safe New Year to everyone. And we'll see you on Sunday.
You too. Thanks, man.
Appreciate it. Thanks, Dave.
Yeah, so the Eagles sound kind of like me as a UConn fan right now. UConn men's basketball, 14-0.
Yeah, you can't stop us.
Well, no, they feel like I do in the sense that this is a 14-0 team and I have nothing to complain about. So I'm going to sit here and complain about the fact that they're number 2 in the country when they are obviously the best team in the country, just like the Eagles fans are complaining about their power rankings.
You got to look for something to bring it out.
Huh?
It can never be all golden and, puppy dogs and sunshine. You got to find something to complain about.
I want puppy dogs and sunshine, though.
You do, but you don't. Everybody's got that little curmudgeon in them. They want to pick apart everything.
Oh, I'm very much a curmudgeon, but I still like puppy dog. Anyway, okay. That's going to wrap it up for us on this episode of Inside Black and Gold. Steve hates puppies. That's all he has to say.
I'm just looking for more puppies and rainbows.
Yeah, we know the truth. All right. Everyone hit the subscribe button. Hit me up on Twitter at Jeff_Nowak. You can follow Steve and berate him for being a dog hater over at Steve Geller, WWL. Check out the latest news, notes, and analysis on WWL.com and every day on Sports Talk, 4 p.m., WWL AM 870 FM 1053, and always free on the Odyssey app. Download it. Is a good time. You can subscribe to our podcast there too. It works, I promise. And if it doesn't work, I never said that. All right. Steve, you have any parting words?
No, getting ready for a new year and hopefully another win.
You said no, and then you said them anyway.
So it was just something I had to come off with off the cuff to sign off with.
Yeah, you need to come up with a Stay Classy San Diego or something.
All
right, y'all.
Steve Geller.
Be easy, y'all. Peace.